Hello, guys and gals, and this is part 15 of our reading of Leaves of Gold. And we're going to go over the copyright information, which is right here. Let's see what we got here. It clearly says, let me find the right page inside the book. Clearly says this is the revised edition, 12th printing, 1964. Copyright 1938 by Evan S. Coslet. And it is, let's see, revised 1948 by Donald G. Remley, and copyright 1984 by A.C. and D.G. Remley. And it is published by the Coslet Publishing Company. Now, we're going to go over what Leaves of Gold is. I should have done that first, but Leaves of Gold is an anthology of prayers, memorable phrases, inspirational verse, and prose from the best authors of the world, both ancient and modern, edited by Clyde Francis Lytle. So now we are going to pick up where we left off. We've made it to chapter 15. And this chapter is called Happiness. So let's get started here. Alternatives. There are two ways of Alternatives. There are two ways of being happy. We may either diminish our wants to augment our means. Either will do. We may either diminish our wants or augment our means. Either will do. The result is the same, and it is for each man to decide for himself and do that which happens to be the easiest. If you are idle or sick or poor, however hard it may be for you to diminish your wants, it will be harder to augment your means. If you are active and prosperous and young, or in good health, it may be easier for you to augment your means than to diminish your wants. But if you are wise, you will do both at the same time, young or old, rich or poor, sick or well. And if you are very wise, you will do both in such a way as to augment the general happiness of society. And that is by Benjamin Franklin. Taste. Happiness lies in the taste, and not in things. And it is for having what we desire and that we are happy, not from having what others think desirable. That is by La Roquefoucauld. Now, habits. Gentleness and cheerfulness, these come before all morality. They are the perfect duties. If your morals make you dreary, depend upon it. Depend upon it. Habits. Gentleness and cheerfulness, these come before all morality. These are the perfect duties. If your morals make you dreary, depend upon it, they are wrong. I do not say give them up, for they may be all you have, but conceal them like vice, lest they should spoil the lives of better and simpler people. As by Robert Louis Stevenson. Now, cheerfulness. The difference between polished iron and iron that is unpolished is the difference between cheerfulness and no cheerfulness. Cheerfulness in a man, is that which, when people meet him, makes them happy. And that is by Beecher. Next, we have the search. If you ever find happiness by hunting for it, you will find it as the old woman did who lost. Who did? Okay, sorry. This is worded kind of interesting. The search. If you ever find happiness by hunting for it, you will find it as the old woman did her lost spectacles, safe on her own nose all the time. That is by Josh Billings. Loaf and invite your soul. There is such a thing as taking ourselves and the world too seriously, or at any rate too anxiously. Half of the secular unrest and dismal profane sadness of modern society comes from the vain idea that every man is bound to be a critic of life, and to let no day pass without finding some fault with the general order of things, or projecting some plan for its general improvement. And the other half come from the greedy notion that a man's life does consist, after all, in the abundance of things that he passeth, and that it is somehow or other more respectable and pious to be always at work trying to make a larger living than it is to lie on your back in the green pasture and beside the still waters. And thank God that you are alive. That is by Henry Van Dyke. Next we have, who drives the horses of the sun shall lord it but a day. Better the lowly deed were done, and kept the humble way. The rust will find the sword of fame, and dust will hide the crown. Aye, none shall nattle so high his name, time will not tear it down. The happiest heart that ever beat was the same quiet was in some quiet breast that found the common daylight sweet, and left to heaven the rest. That is by John Vance Cheney, it looks like. Next we have, wow, this is a long one. Laugh, preacher, laugh. Ministers are not martyrs. Most ministers have a saving sense of humor and look on the sunny side of life. When Monday morning rolls along and it is so-called ministers' Blue Monday, they get together like birds of a feather. In those ministers' conferences from time to time, the preachers are boys again and swap yarns and experiences. In some of these meetings, the cream of humor comes to the top. One summer, while vacationing in New York, my eye fell on the announcement in a prominent paper, offering a prize for the funniest experience on the part of the readers. In due time, I sent in mine. A few days later, a beautiful check was received for my prize-winning experience. Here it is. I had preached in a certain church on Sunday. On Friday, I received the following letter. Dear brother, since I heard you preach, I've gotten so that I cannot walk. Please get me a wheelchair. If any preacher wishes to go in the wheelchair business, I will send him some of my old sermons. A friend of mine married a couple. The girl weighed probably close to 300 pounds. The man would not weigh more than 100, judging from his diminutive size. When the time came for the presentation of the wedding ring, the little groom was about to place the band of gold on the ring finger of the colossal bride. It did not fit, whereupon the little fellow exclaimed, "Oh, baby, it does not fit." The preacher was asked to furnish a file, and the little groom, who was a mechanic as well as an ardent lover, filed the ring off until it fitted, whereupon the ceremony was completed. A very pompous preacher, whose bay window was the only sign of his greatness, and who had a fairly good opinion of himself, was trying to make a gathering of people laugh at the expense of a preacher who was not quite so corpulent as he. The preacher of small stature had a reputation of being a hearty eater. He had also the reputation of being witty. Listen to the historic dialogue. A great deal of good food has been wasted on Brother Lytle. It does not seem to have done him much good. Laughter. Whereupon Brother Lytle quietly arose, saying, Mr. Chairman, food affects different people in different ways. For instance, in some people it makes tissue, in others blood, in others bone, in others muscle. In my case, it makes brain. In the case of Brother Big, it all goes to his stomach. Convulsive laughter. Although this is only the beginning of a much longer story, I will close with an incident that occurred in a community in which I was a pastor. One of our members was quite sick. In the yard of her home, an immense hog attracted curious people from far and near. Annoyed by the constant stream of visitors, a member of the family put the following notice in the newspaper. Mrs. Z is very ill. Please do not come see her. See the big hog until she is better. That is by Marnus James. Now we have one called Values. A laugh is worth 100 groans in any market. That is by Charles Lamb. A wild goose chase. Happiness in this world, when it comes incidentally. Make it the object of pursuit, and it leads us a wild goose chase, and is never attained. Follow some other object, and very possibly we will find that we have caught happiness without dreaming of it. But likely enough, it is gone the moment we say to ourselves, "Here it is," like the chest of gold that treasure seekers find. That's by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Next, we have laughter. While it lasts, slackens, and unbraces the mind, weakens the faculties, and causes a kind of remissness and dissolution in all the power of the soul, and thus far it may be looked upon as a weakness in the composition of human nature. But if we consider the frequent reliefs we receive from it, and how often it breaks the gloom which is apt to depress the mind and dampen our spirit, with transient, unexpected gleams of joy, one would take care not to grow too wise for so great a pleasure of life. That is by Addison. Next, we have pleasant. You have not fulfilled every day unless you have fulfilled that of being pleasant. That is by Charles Buxton. Miserable. If you want to be miserable, think about yourself, about what you want, what you like, what respect people ought to pay you, and what people think of you. That's by Charles Kingsley. And now we have a poem here, I think it's a poem anyway, called Happiness. I ask professors who teach the meaning of life to tell me what is happiness. And I went to famous executives who boss the work of thousands of men. They all shook their heads and gave me a smile as though I was trying to fool with them. And then one Sunday afternoon, I wandered out along the Des Plaines River, and I saw a crowd of Hungarians under the trees with their women and children, and a keg of beer and an accordion. That is by Carl Sandburg. It says the Chicago Poems by Carl Sandburg, by permission of the publishers Hugh Holt and Company, Incorporated. Copyright 1916 by Henry Holt and Company. Copyright 1945 by Carl Sandburg. Okay, now, sunshine. Those who bring sunshine to the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves. That's by James M. Barrie. Moving mountains. If you only laugh, things don't come so hard. If you laugh at it, the trouble will not seem so real. I know, for I laugh away a mountain. Jesus told of the faith that moves mountains. May not cheerfulness in the face of difficulty and privation be an evidence of that wonder-working faith? That is by John T. Ferris. Radiant witness. We do not please God more by eating bitter aloes than by eating honey. A cloudy, foggy, rainy day is not more heavenly than a day of sunshine. A funeral march is not so much like the music of angels as the songs of birds on a May morning. There is no more religion in the gaunt, naked forest in winter than in the laughing blossoms of the spring, and the rich, ripe fruits of autumn. It was not the pleasant things in the world which came from the devil, and the dreary things from God. It was sin brought death into the world and all our woe. As the sin vanishes, the woe will vanish too. God himself is the ever-blessed God. He dwells in the light of joy as well as of purity, and instead of becoming more like him as we become more miserable, and as all the brightness and glory of life are extinguished, we become more like God as our blessedness becomes more complete. The great Christian graces all radiance with happiness, faith, hope, charity. There is no sadness in them, and if Penitence makes the heart sad. Penitence belongs to the sinner, not to the saint. As we become more saintly, we have less sin to sorrow over. That's by R.W. Duke. Perfume. Happiness is a perfume you cannot pour on others without getting a few drops on yourself. Very true. And we have true content. True content. Be content with your surroundings, but not with yourself till you have made the most of it. Now we have gladness. The men who I have seen succeed best in life have always been cheerful and hopeful men, who went about their business with a smile on their faces and took the changes and chances of this mortal life like men facing rough and smooth alike as it came. That's by Charles Kingsley. The power behind evolution is the mightiest and surest thing in existence. It is the most dependable thing in the cosmos. It attends every instant upon man's willingness to cooperate with it, ready to respond richly to his most timid demands. It puts its shoulder to the wheel alongside the weakest and most debased of mortals. The cry of hunger is a manifesto more powerful than the parchment of princes because it is a voice from nature. The law is consistently beneficent. There is such a thing as perfect justice to every man. The greatest good to the greatest number is a sophistical makeshift. Its euphonious persuasiveness has captivated the superficial logic of a science which accepted expedience for principle. But in the light of new truth, it is clear and a most thrilling fact that good and happiness and justice belong to every single man, and to one as much as anyone. The new philosophy makes for the universal good without a single creature forgotten. According to himself, shall each man share in the universal and appropriable all good. That's by Annie F. Cantwell. Not enough. Be not simply good, but be good for something. And that is by Thoreau. Grief. Happiness is to feel that one's soul is good. There is no other. In truth, and this kind of happiness, many exist even in sorrow, so that there are griefs preferable to every joy, and such as would be preferred to all those who have felt them. That is by Joseph Joubert. Okay, cheer. Among Christians, so much prominence has been given to the disciplinary effects of sorrow, affliction, bereavement, and that have been in danger of overlooking the other and more obvious side, that but every joy, by every favor, by every sign of prosperity, yea, and by these chiefly, God designs to educate and discipline his children. This one-sided view of the truth has made many morbid, gloomy Christians who look for God's hand only in the lightning and never think of seeing him in the sunlight. They only enjoy themselves when they are miserable. That is by F.E. Clark. Classification. Man is the merriest species of the creation. All above or below him are serious. That is by Addison. Complete. The out-and-out Christian is a joyful Christian. The half-and-half Christian is the kind of Christian that a great many of you are, little acquainted with the Lord. Why should we live halfway up the hill and swathed in the mists, when we might have an unclouded sky and a radiant sun over our heads if we would climb higher and walk in the light of his face? That is by Alexander Maclaren. The secret of happiness is not in doing what one likes, but in liking what one has to do. That's by Barry. And we are done with this particular one. We'll pick this up with chapter 16, a chapter called Home. We have been reading about happiness, though. So anyways, we've been reading from Leaves of Gold. This is a book that was edited by Clyde Francis Lytle, and we've been reading chapter 15, which was about happiness. If you like this if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, if you want to join the Discord server, all that information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.